My next patron question is from Billy, who wants to know, what are my favorite director cameos in movies? Thinking about this question, there were a lot of cameos that came to mind, whether it's directors appearing in their own movies or showing up in others. The first person I thought of was Steven Spielberg appearing at the end of The Blues Brothers. He does not have many lines, but it's amusing seeing him being picked up by Jake and Elwood, and I was surprised to learn not many viewers recognized him, probably because we're now more accustomed to his more bearded appearance. Spielberg surprisingly does not have too many cameos, but he has a few memorable ones, like the beginning of Austin Powers in Goldmember, where he's depicted directing a movie about Austin. I also liked his voice cameo in the movie Paul, where he consults with the titular alien about his own alien movie. He briefly shows up in Vanilla Sky, giving Tom Cruise's character a hug and wishing him happy birthday because he happened to be on the set that day, and then he would return the favor and give Cameron Crowe a cameo in Minority Report. Spielberg would also cast a director as one of his filmmaking inspirations when he made The Fabelmans. That was David Lynch, who was such an inspired choice to play John Ford. He did an exceptional job bringing the right amount of toughness and humor to the role as he offers young Sammy some advice. There's also now a bittersweet element, as this would be one of the last times we would see Lynch on screen before he passed away earlier this year. Another director known for making somewhat surreal films who made a memorable cameo at the end of a movie was David Cronenberg in To Die For. I won't spoil what his role is for those who have not seen this dark satirical comedy, but he has a great scene opposite Nicole Kidman that leaves the intended impact. Something I think is particularly sweet is when Roger Corman shows up in movies, often made by directors who got their start under him and gave him these small roles as a thank you. Jonathan Demme included him in Swing Shift, The Silence of the Lambs, and Philadelphia, and Ron Howard gave him a cameo in Apollo 13. He would also show up in two Joe Dante movies, The Howling and Looney Tunes Back in Action, where he plays the director of a Batman movie filming on the Warner Brothers lot. Speaking of Dante, he included a cameo by Chuck Jones in Gremlins, where he comments on the main character's drawing. It would not be the only Joe Dante movie Jones would cameo in, as he was also in Inner Space. Another cameo from a legendary director that comes to mind is Martin Scorsese in Quiz Show. He plays the head of the company sponsoring the game show accused of manipulating the results, and he makes the most of his small role as he calmly explains his views on the issue. Gus Van Sant plays a funny parody of himself in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, where he's depicted counting money while directing the fictional Good Will Hunting 2. And that's a joke that could be interpreted one of two ways. Either he's counting the money he made from the first Good Will Hunting, which was his first major box office success, or it's a comment on directors who make a sequel largely for monetary reasons. In the same movie, Wes Craven has a funny cameo directing another Scream sequel. Kevin Smith himself often makes cameos in other movies as well. He appeared as Silent Bob alongside Jason Mewes as Jay in Scream 3, which presents the idea that the Scream movies take place within the viewer's universe, although Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back contradicts this, but it's best not to think too hard about it. Smith had a particularly fun role in Live Free or Die Hard, where he interacts with John McClane, and it even led to him telling a hilarious story about his time on the set. I got a kick out of seeing Peter Bogdanovich play a movie director in It Chapter 2, and a classic case of a filmmaker playing themselves in a way that's even relevant to the plot is Cecil B. DeMille in Sunset Boulevard. Norma Desmond thinks he's going to director in a new movie at Paramount, which eventually leads to one of the most famous closing lines in film history. Another classic cameo is Orson Welles appearing at the end of the Muppet movie, offering the Muppets the standard rich and famous contract. He has such a presence in that one scene, and there's something endearing about this legendary figure giving an opportunity to these rising stars. Meanwhile, one of the most bizarre director cameos I've seen is John Waters in Alvin and the Chipmunks' The Road Chip. I remember being stunned seeing him randomly show up, although he is a big Chipmunks fan. But just to add to the strangeness of it all, Alvin reveals he's seen pink flamingos. What a wild reference to put in a family film, with Waters later revealing that was not originally Alvin's line in that scene, and he only found out about it when he saw the finished film. Directors will also make cameos in their own movies, and the most famous example of this is Alfred Hitchcock, who would often be walking somewhere in the background or foreground. Although at a certain point, most of his cameos would be placed at the beginning of his movies so that viewers would not spend the rest of the runtime wondering when he would show up. But it's always fun when he does. Now let me know in the comments what your favorite director cameos are, and thank you for the question, Billy.